All right, as some of you know, from time to time, I like to call out another content creator, right? Usually it's to call out a crappy idea and give you an alternative message, something like that. But I think it's time we talk a little bit about Mr. Mike Thurston. And I think Mr. Mike Thurston, I think he gets a bit too much of a pass. And he gets too much of a pass because he's a good guy. Seemingly he's a nice dude. But there is a big issue with Mr. Mike. Now, I have been watching Mike's content for quite a few years now. A fan of Mike, a fan of Mike's content up until recently, and I'll get onto that. I like Mike. He genuinely, he actually one of my main inspirations for even starting YouTube and the channels I have myself. And he is, I think he genuinely is a good bloke. He's got a lot of great information on training, fitness and nutrition and whatnot, a lot of stuff. He's living an amazing life. What a life he's living, man. As a you know, as a young single man, he's living the dream, right? What a life. But here's the thing, and I'm pretty sure most of you, if you know Mike, you know where I'm going with this. It is obvious Mr. Mike ain't natural. Now he's claims natural, natty status. It is so obvious that he's not. Right? He's been on gear for some time now. Clearly, he looks 10 times better than other influencers who have been busted or have come out and admitted they're on gear. Like, he looks way better, way bigger. Now, most people, most fake natties, they get a lot of stick. Mike's had some stick, but for the most part, he gets a pass. And I think he gets a pass because he is, like, it's like I said, he's a decent lad. He's a decent dude. So much so that I was very hesitant to do this or even release this video. And like I said, I like him. I'm a fan of his stuff. I watch his stuff. But ultimately, let's call a spade a spade. Ultimately, you've built this amazing life and this huge following. He's got millions of followers across social media. He's one of the biggest fitness influencers online in the world. Inspiring everyone, yada yada. But it's built on a house of cards. It's built on lies. Claiming natural status when you're not. That is a shitty move. Whichever way you want to look at it, that's shitty. Now, like I said, I think Mike's a decent dude. And my bet is, I think Mike loses sleep over this. Right? I think most influencers, when they lie about natty status, they don't give a shit. You know, they really don't. I think Mike probably has a bit of a conscience, a guilty conscience on this one. I think he loses some sleep. I think he probably thinks, should I come out? Should I admit it? And yada yada. Now, the problem is, the longer he goes on claiming natural, the harder and more difficult it is to admit it. Maybe he just feels like now he's too far gone. He's too far gone now. And to be fair to him, he did start, and he started blowing up at a time where, let's say, it was easier to get away with. The industry wasn't as big as it is now. There wasn't as many people doing this stuff, and there wasn't as many people busted for claiming they were natural and everything else, and it wasn't so obvious, and there wasn't the information out there, and wasn't so many, you know, Greg Doucette type channels who were exposing all this stuff. So a little bit more of a different time. But now it's 2025 now. Like I said, it's so painfully obvious guys aren't natural. The problem is, yes, the longer it goes on, the more difficult it is to admit. But here's the thing, if I'm right, and he has a bit of a heavy heart over this, the longer it goes on, the harder it is to live with that. And that will just that'll keep eating away at him. I'm sure it would. Can he live with that? Maybe, probably. Only he really knows. And look, he's made enough. Okay, if he comes out and admits he's been on gear this whole time, chances are his business is gonna take a big hit. He's gonna lose a lot of followers. He's gonna lose a lot of money. That's a big risk. Thing is though, how much of a big risk? He's obviously clearly multi-millionaire at this point. He's probably got enough money to sustain him for the rest of his life. How much of a hit? How much of a risk is it really? I think there is a large percentage of his audience that actually just doesn't really care that much. And as the years roll on, he'll get new followers in, and then as long as he's honest from that point on, maybe they'll respect it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even really know the fucking point of this video. It's one of those things. It's just like, guys, I stopped watching his content, for example. I just realized, like, I can't. Why essentially put money in this guy's pocket? As much as he's a good bloke and his content and everything, you know, all of that stuff is good. He's lying. You know, technically he's a fraud. I can't continue to support that in that way. And not enough people call him out. So so what we're doing, we're all just gonna sit here and pretend, you know, he's telling the truth, and it's all right. Mike's a good guy. As he keeps rolling in the dough and, you know, continuing to cash in on lying and manipulating to his audience. I don't think it's right. And like I said, other content creators, they get different energy. With Mike, he gets a bit of a pass. But what do you think? I know there'll be people out there that think it's natural, but I don't think those people have any real knowledge or understanding of fitness and steroid use, etc. If they do, completely delusional in that regard. But yeah, what do you think, lads? What do you think? Does he get too much of a pass? Do you think he'll ever come out and be honest about it? And if he does, what do you think the response would be? You know, how do you think it would affect him? Be interested. Let's see.